Hi, my name is Michael van der Mee from XIAC Australia, and today we're going to do some maintenance on this CF830 memory flap unit. It was manufactured in the mid to late 1980s, and we're going to replace the valves. This is the new valve manifold. We're going to replace the cylinders, replace the fittings, replace the pneumatic tubes, a tube cutter here. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is to take the cover off. There's two screws here at the front. There's another two at the back. So let's take these ones out. Okay, now to take the cover off, this is quite a tight fit. So as you can see, you cannot just pull it off, but you have to press the connector in and then you can slide it off. Okay, what can we see here? I can see there's a valve missing here. We got 8 valves here for the memory flaps. And there's 1 valve here for the return, because these ones are single acting valves. So it's only pushing, these valves are pushing these forward. And then there's 1 valve, this one, that pulls them all back. So they don't go back individually, but they all go back at the same time. So that's that valve, but normally there's another valve here for the drop unit, which is missing in this one. Then let's see if we can take the memory flaps off. There's a small screw or a small nut behind it. All right. Okay, then we can take the cylinder head nuts off. I've loosened these up a little bit because they can be quite tight, but now they should come out easily. Okay, so then we can take the cylinder out, and Since I'm not going to use the old pneumatics, I just chop these off to make that easier. Okay, that's that. Then we can start working on the valves. We first need to take all these exhausts off. And then we can work on these locking screws. And then we disconnect the valve on the other side, which is just one screw here. Pull this one off. And then we should be able to lift off this whole assembly in one go. There we go. Put that aside. Now I am planning to reuse some of this 6mm tube. So I'm going to take these ones out carefully.
I'm going to reuse that one.
Okay. All right, then we can start working on the valve. Then we've got these screws on the top, and we have those locking nuts at the bottom. So you'd have to hold that one before you can take that out. All right. These ones should just come off because we cut all the tubes. Okay, then we can start to take off the rest of the gear. Let's start with this one. Alright, that's about it, I think. And this is the main air inlet. Can take that one out. Right, and then we need to give it a good wash. So while the clean parts are drying, we can start working on reassembly. What we need is this plug and the wires. That will come here with the wires connected to these new valves. So let's start working on that one. So we need to take off this one. And then we open this box. It's just a junction box. Now, if you're not familiar with the wire colors, then you may want to write them down. The black one here is for the drop unit. The blue one is for the reset valve, so to pull back all the cylinders. And then we got the channels 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 8. And these two are the ground.
So let's disconnect those ones.
Alright, so we'll take this one out and use it for the new manifold. So I've cut off the bootlace ends of those wires and put a tape around it just to make it easier to feed it through here. And then the top part should be the part with that notch over there, which is pin number A. So then I can put the screws in. Okay, so that's done. And then these wires will need to be soldered to those ones. So let's start with the ground here. We got 2 grounds coming in, and we got 2 grounds that go to the valve. Now we don't want to make the wires too long, so let's say we cut this one here. And then we strip them. Let's strip these. Now we twist all of these together. Wait, I forgot something. I forgot a shrink tube that we're gonna put on top of it afterwards. Okay. Give that a bit of solder. Trim it. Alright. And then we put the heat shrink sleeving on there. And then that one will be done. So then we just follow the wiring diagram. So we did the red, white and the blue, white one, which is the bottom 2 for the ground. So those are the returns of all these valves. Then the drop unit is the black wire. The drop unit valve will be the last one over there. And then the master reset. Well, we don't have a master reset anymore, so we leave that one open. We might be using that one in the future for some other purpose, but for the moment we just leave it loose. And then we just start with brown, which is cylinder 1 for channel 1, and channel 1 is this one. So we take the shortest wire from this one, which will be channel 1, and then we can hook that one up to the brown one. And then we do an order brown, beige, and then yellow, green, violet, pink, orange, and the transparent one. So these ones are hooked up to these 8 valves over there. So when those are all done, it should look something like this. So we still have one wire that we're not using at the moment, and the other side looks like that. So I decided to quickly connect it to our test device, just to see if all the valves are connected up properly. There's no air, obviously, but we can sequence all the valves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then for the drop unit, we check that one manually. That one is also working. Oh, that looks good. So the next step is to mount this manifold and mounting plate onto the base of the memory flap unit, and we use some M4 screws, some washers, some nuts, and then it should sit like this. So now I've done 3 screws, and before I go ahead with the other ones, I first check the alignment with that cover that's going on the top. So the screws are here at the bottom, 1, 2, and 3, and then the nut and the spring washers are on the top. Then we see if it's gonna fit with the cover. Which I put loosely here. So it's gonna sit right here. So that actually looks perfect, so we don't need any further alignment. So the next step is to prepare the cylinders. We're gonna use 16 of these fittings. And while you're doing that, also move the piston a few times in and out, because if they have been in storage, they might be a bit sticky. So just make sure that they are loose before you put them in the memory flap unit. And then when we've done that, we can put the air inlet back into the memory flap unit. So it sits between those 2 cylinders. Just aim for that a little bit. It's actually the far end of this slot that I put there. Tighten up. Alright, that looks good. So now we can put in the new cylinders. I can put one in, and then I would recommend to extend the piston a little bit so that it's easier to put the memory flaps on there afterwards. This can be a bit tricky. Here we go. You make it flush with the memory flap unit. Straighten out the cylinder. And then you give it a little bit of a tightening up. And that's done. Now I pre-cut 16 of these 4mm tubes. I cut them to about 35 centimeters. And then we hook those ones up to the cylinders. So the way to do that, you put one on this end, which goes on the top hole, just where the other used to come from, and one on the bottom end, which goes to one of those return holes over there. make sure that there's no kink in these tubes, otherwise that might block the airflow. So everything needs to be nice, loosely connected. And then on the other side, so the ones that come from the holes at the back connects to the bottom, which is port B. Let's trim that one. Port B. And the one that comes from the front connects to port A. Let's do that nicely. Port A. Okay, and then we just do all of them. So when that's all done, it should look something like this. So this is the top, and then the bottom looks like that. Then the only thing we need to do is the valve for the drop unit. They're just 4mm tubes that go through these two holes. And then we connect those ones up to the last available valve over here. And then that's done. And then we still need to connect up the 6mm tube to the manifold. For this we're gonna reuse the tubes that we took out earlier. So connect one to this side, one goes to that side, and then this one goes to the inlet. Okay. Looks good. Okay, then we're ready to give it a quick test. See if there's no leaks and if all the cylinders are connected up properly. And the drop unit. All good. Now I can put the memory flaps back on. Let's start here. As far as you can, and then the last bit, tighten that locking nut behind it, metal part on the top. Let's do another one. So I first make sure that this nut is at the end.
And then spread it on.
Now let's do the rest. So this is all done now, and then we only need to put the cover back on, which is easy enough. Put the 4 screws in, and then we can perform the final speed test. So for our last test, we took this assembly out of the machine. So we got the upgraded memory flap unit, we've got the detection unit, and we've connected it up to our test rig. Now we're gonna drop 8 of these products, one in each of these channels, from a higher than normal distance. So the distance is higher than the vibratory plates normally sit. And then if the flaps are fast enough, they should still be able to catch these products. So let's try that. That's 8. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'll take a light here. See, channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So it's all good now. Well, that was quite a tutorial. It took a bit longer than expected, but it's all done and it works. If you like this kind of video, please subscribe to our channel. We'll probably have some more videos regarding tablet counting in the future. If you have any questions regarding Cremer tablet counters or Swiftpack tablet counters or King tablet counters, you can send us an email and then we can help you out with that. We got upgrades for Swiftpack and for King as well. So thanks for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye bye. One final thing. It is actually true that I put my tablet counting stuff in the car with a seat belt, because this equipment is very expensive, and if I get rear-ended by another car, then it's probably costing more to fix the tablet counting gear than to fix the car. So yes, I put seat belts on there.